The apocalypse is coming. Are you scared? Are you prepared? The masses are running, frantically running from their fears, running with their tears, running from their lives, running from that dark shadow creature that hides deep inside.
And we're here.
We're here. Good to have you, Ray. Glad you're okay, man. So
I'm alive. Cancer
you're
free.
alive. That's good. That's the important part. That's the important part, man.
For real, man. It is.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm dying. I'm dying.
No, that's knock on wood. You're good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How are you been?
I've been doing good. Some interesting things happen here in France. The 1685 law, called the Code Noir, was officially taken off the books on May 20th, 2026.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because last year they were thumbing through, and apparently they're like, oh, shit, we didn't get rid of these.
You know, the slavery laws in America have never been taken off the books. They're still there.
Yeah.
They never removed them officially. There's same thing about mixed marriages. That one, they ignore it, but they never officially removed it from
The books.
the books.
Yeah, I could see that.
So they could always go back and say, hey, according to this law, it's illegal to be married or to have a mixed child.
Then they'll start reclassifying people like,
Right.
Dance's wife will be white.
Yeah. Yeah, some Indians consider themselves white. That's true.
Yeah, it's because of the caste system, which the Brits made worse. I mean, it was there before.
Yeah, but they
really
capitalize on it. Yeah.
jacked it up.
If you look at the history of, the history of like apartheid, the history of colonialism, it's always a European that's dividing people and saying, hey, this one's greater than this. I mean, the whole thing of light skin versus dark skin, the house Negro versus the farm Negro, that was them. That was part of the whole thing, was to create a middle class to control the lower classes. That caste system was put in by them. I mean, that's why mixing went on, was specifically for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it depended on the colony you're in.
So
if you were in the Spanish and the French colonies, mixing was there. But yeah, like, so or even the British would do it such as this. They actually had a whole power. They knew the whole, it wasn't like, oh, this is just how it happened. They thought it through. So in the Caribbean, for the English and French, and to a degree Spanish, it was like this. So you had a few white people. Then you have a whole bunch of mixed people, which they used to control the the African enslaved black people. That's why in places like Haiti, I would be distrusted.
Yeah, I mean,
and I wholeheartedly understand.
As overseers in Jamaica, right? That's why the Jamaicans had that Irish accent.
They were forced to mix too.
Yeah, they
were forced to mix with the Irish.
It's like, it's a Caribbean accent. No, it's Irish. It's an Irish accent.
It is actually. There's a video going around about a month or two ago that there was where the actual accent comes in Ireland. But in Haiti, for example, though, 2/3 of the island was owned by black and mixed property owners. So there's a difference there too, and that's why there's that tension, which they don't talk, which is a class struggle between the descendants of the formerly enslaved and the descendants of the propertied.
Yeah,
they'll never explain it to us that way. They just say Haiti's just crazy, right?
Yeah, it's just like I think about what's happening in China. China has all these colonies now in Africa, and they're doing the same thing, where they were encouraging and I believe paying Chinese single men to mix race with African women and have African children. So, and that's in certain colonies. And then if you look at the jobs right now, a lot of the jobs, like the managerial jobs from Chinese companies, are not going to Africans. It's going to Chinese workers. So what do you think they're doing? They're waiting for those children to become like 18, and then they'll be in control of those and have those positions.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
would push back on that.
you know,
Part of the problem is that China's had
it's
the one
not
child
for
policy,
what's that?
so there's
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people who don't have children. A lot of the African women do end up just going back to China, so they don't
Mhm,
stay in Africa.
mhm.
Three, China has never practiced the same form of colonization or any of that kind of colonization. They've
True.
had they've had tributaries, they haven't had vassals,
Right.
and so
And also think about Get Out. They must have seen Get Out and like, oh, that's a good idea.
no, not really, because they were also treated very much like people don't understand that it was just Malcolm's birthday,
Right.
right? Malcolm had a deep respect, and actually most of the Black Panthers were Maoists
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
for a
true. I even
reason,
got a picture. I've got a photograph somewhere of the Black
right?
Panther Party.
So I think it's very
You know.
we have to be careful not to push European ideas on Chinese. I think
I
they're
guess
just a different
we'll have to
different
wait.
culture,
And see.
a
But yeah,
different way.
China itself is mixed with different cultures and races,
Mhm.
but they do condemn them. I find it interesting that they condemn the Asian Muslims, but then they're like, "What you're doing in Gaza is wrong." But they do have.
Well, here's the thing: a lot of people have brought up about the Uyghur thing, and there's
Yeah.
actually a young man who is Uyghur who
Mhm.
interviews different people,
Mhm.
and he pushes back. He says, "No, and actually, if you go to that region, they're able to speak it." Now, here's the thing that's interesting: the Uyghur region is the region that the CIA used to try to break up China.
Mm.
And this is something that was going on right after World War II. They tried to go
Mm.
into that region. And
Right.
some of the people who went and broke up Syria were
Right.
part of were Uyghur Chinese.
Mm.
They were also these crazy paramilitary groups.
Right.
So once you start to sort of understand that region, then it starts to make more sense
Right. Right.
from their perspective. But going back to Genghis Khan, um, a lot of those tribes came from the west to the east.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Mongolians didn't have a written language. It was
Right.
Genghis Khan who said, okay, we're now Mongolians. One.
Mm.
Two, I need you guys, which are, I guess, would be the descendants of the Uyghurs or
Mhm.
the their ancestors,
Right.
created the script for Mongolian. So it's
Mhm.
like a Turkish script. So
Right.
that
Right.
region, once you start to understand the history of it, you start to understand. The other thing is Genghis Khan got them because they're really good with numbers. He got
Right.
Muslims in China to be the tax collectors.
Right. Right.
So there's a very different dynamics
What's
in that.
interesting is I see a lot of stuff on the internet talking about the black Chinese, like how the Africans went into China
Well, the
a long
Chinese
time
come from the
ago.
Sand people.
Right. And then how they mix and stuff. I mean, I think if you go to like even Taiwan, I haven't been to China, but in Taiwan, you'll go to a lot of temples and they have like black saints. I guess they're not saints, they're generals, they're different roles,
Mhm.
spirits or but in the afterlife. And there's even like a Buddha, like a black Buddha, but they have different. Same thing with Russia, right? They got the black Madonna, the black Jesus. So
Which is just Isis and Horus.
uh,
It comes
basically,
off from Egypt. It all comes from Egypt. And talking about that, what's very interesting is that there was a Chinese scholar that got in a lot of heat in China a while
Mhm.
back because he was reading the founding myth of China, and he said, "This is not the Yangtze River. What
Mm.
they're describing is the Nile."
Right, right, right,
And it was huge controversy, but when he was explaining it,
right.
it made sense to it. So
We're like, no.
no, oh well,
There's this obsession with whiteness, and I only think that even in Asia, like you can still get whitening cream and all that stuff. There's ads,
Africa has that problem too.
and I think it's because they associate whiteness with power or elevation and status of some sort, or
Yeah,
you know.
before Europeans, it would literally mean you weren't working the fields,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
you were able to. Now, other societies,
yeah,
like in the ancient world, whiteness was seen as a sign of being a slave.
Hmm.
because you came from the Slavic areas, right? And
Right.
that's usually where most of the slave trade used to happen. And the other thing that's interesting about it is, even to this day, and it's like we were talking about Lupita, and we're going to get into that, which I
Hmm.
think is really disgusting that people now are attacking her, like, oh,
Yeah.
she's not beautiful enough or something. It really is code for she's too black, right?
Right.
Um, but even to this day in the Mediterranean, I've seen this. I've been on Spanish beaches with friends of mine, and the
Hmm.
first time this happened, I was completely shocked. So we're sitting there and we start seeing some British tourists, which pretty much you have to wear sunglasses because they're so freaking white, right?
Right.
And they like nudge me and go, "Hey, how long before they turn red?"
20 minutes.
40 minutes. Yeah, and here's a bit of what's not understood about Europe because America sort of clamps everything down into
Hmm.
zones, Europe, Africa,
Right.
Asia, is that there is a divide between North and South. Even
Yeah.
the days of the week that we
Hmm.
have in English are the Nordic gods.
Right.
The South, Spanish, the
Hmm.
Roman gods,
Hmm.
right? And that's very often that Susie's Portuguese, right? So it's
Mm.
not unusual here. Portuguese, Spanish, Greek, or Italian say to the kids, "Oh, you're looking very pale. Are you feeling okay? You need some sun, right?" So it's very different from the North, which is very proud of fair
Right.
skin and everything else,
Right.
and people hanging on to the word fair
Hmm.
because of a translation to describe Helen. She was fair. I used to do professional translation, and let me tell you, it is hell, especially with poetic language.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. A word that we use in Spanish a lot to describe someone, if they're really pretty, we would
Right.
say hermosa,
Hermosa.
muy hermosa.
Right.
Now, you could take it as she's very pretty,
Hmm.
or you could also say she's a lovely person. So I don't know exactly the word for describing in Greek that Homer used that translates the fair,
Right.
but it could be he was describing her personality, not her actual physical attributes, because the Spartans actually prided being bronzed.
Hmm.
They saw that as being physically fit and strong,
Hmm.
um, which is very funny to me that everyone's freaking out about, oh, she's not blonde. Blonde doesn't really kind of like is a thing in the Mediterranean. It's like, oh, okay, you're blonde. But brunettes are where it's at. The Sophia Lorenz.
Hmm.
That's where you're like, well, the Penelope Cruz and others. So it's not a thing. So that Nordic thing is being transposed. And I would say that all of the films that we've watched, and I first 8 years of my life was in the Mediterranean. I went back as an adult, lived there for 4 years. I would say all the films that you've ever seen in Hollywood have never really had Southern Europeans. What you stare at is uh, complete white DEI,
Right.
Nordic people who are blonde haired, blue eyed. It's
Hmm.
these people. The people have turned red in 40 minutes. And then what's really missing, because the writers and the directors are Northern boys,
Hmm.
or I like to say vitamin D deficient people, because they don't get enough sun, is that sunny disposition and sarcasm and guilt tripping and all this bittersweet Mediterranean perspective. That's just when I look at it, it's like 2D. I don't care who's made Troy. Uh, my big criticism, they picked freaking Matt Damon for Odysseus.
Right.
Odysseus is a somewhat likable asshole,
Hmm.
and there's a tradition from that character, Odysseus, that springs into a lot of Spanish literature, like a character who is also an asshole, Lothario de Tormes, and another character who's a trickster, Pulgarcito. So there's that tradition of not necessarily caring much for heroes, but the tricksters, and that's missing from that. It just feels like I'm watching Thor in the Mediterranean. Boring, it's cool. I love Nordic mythology, but that sort of like, warrior die to the death stuff without
Exactly.
some sort of wry comment
Right.
commentary. That's not the Mediterranean. I'm sorry. So right from the get-go, the argument's really stupid about Lapita in that sense. I did send you some stuff as to where this blonde stuff starts with. The first one was about the Nazis,
Exactly.
Greek reporters. So
Exactly.
yeah, I put it up
Let's
there. So
just take a look at this.
yeah, from the Greek reporter, talks about how we get this idea. I didn't put the full article, but the idea that
It's me on Facebook.
yeah, it's through Messenger. I sent you sort of like a list.
Oh, I see it. Deadline. Got it.
So I had it for you.
Got it. All right. So you want to start with Antonio Banderas?
No, I'm going to start first with the Nazis, which is much further up.
Oh, so all right, the ancient Greeks, Nazis.
Just scroll up.
Black screen or the reporter?
Yeah, the Greek reporter.
The Greek
The
report.
Greeks. The Greeks.
Let's just have a disclaimer. We're talking about race. We're not judging or blaming or accusing, but we are stating facts.
Yeah, to my Greeks, Tikanis.
Right. We're not going to. That's your little trigger warning.
Trigger warning. Well, here's the thing. Like I told you on the phone, Susie, my better half, my smarter half, is Portuguese. My brother-in-laws are Italian, and my good friend is Greek, and my mom's from Spain. So the Mediterranean is very well represented in my life.
Right. Yes. Yes. Here we go.
So it says here how Nazi Germany usurped ancient Greece's legacy.
Right.
Yeah, and the next one is actually has the some of the stuff that they're talking about. Yeah, back in the 30s, the Nazis were actually working on. Yeah, so it says here how Nazi propaganda didn't hesitate to usurp the ancient Greece's history and classical past to legitimize both their cultural and racial supremacist views. We could see signs of this phenomenon everywhere we look at Nazi Germany, from the Neo-Grec nudes and Armor Brecker and Joseph Thorak to the neo-Doric architecture of Paul Proust and so on. So this idea of the blonde Aryan in Greece, when people are showing pictures of Helen of Troy from that movie, is actually feeding into some Nazi stuff, because the woman that played that in the Troy, and I'm not putting it on her, it's not her fault, but she's German. The woman that played in the Brad Pitt's version of Troy, which, by the way, made my eyes bleed.
Right. It was not a very good movie. I mean, I bought the box set years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's funny. It's like, like Laserdisc used to have laser rot. This thing, 20 minutes before the ending of the movie, it stops playing. So it's like,
oh wow.
So I was like, what the hell? And this is like the expensive one, and I couldn't get a refund or anything. So I had to
wow. And that was recently, you just bought it and it still didn't work.
That's when it first came out. Yeah.
Wow, that sucks. It's not even with age.
Yeah.
My biggest beef with that story is the way that they laid it out.
Yeah. Or even Titus. Think about Titus and the roles in Titus, right? So it's like nobody cried about the different actors playing different race roles, or think about Othello, right? Or this classic.
Oh man. Oh, years ago. I remember years ago, I was working retail. And my Latino buddies and I were arguing with the Italian guys as to why Al Pacino sucked in that movie. It was like
everyone was asking brown face central, dude, and that's in the 80s.
Yeah, and we're in the 90s, and all my my buddies who are Latinos and myself were arguing with the Italian Canadians who were like, no, that actually was a really shitty version of a Cuban. They should have actually just gotten a Cuban.
Right. I mean, We can go backwards all the way to the beginning of Hollywood. We can gradually let's step walk this baby. So Scarface was what in 80 something, right? It's like
Is it 83 or 81
yeah, something like
or
that.
82 or something?
Let me read. Oh, they don't even have it on here. It must be very tiny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
as we get older, it should be by the copyright.
yeah. I don't think they expect anyone to look for the copyright anymore.
Yeah, actually, they put it for 1998, so I guess that's the copyright for the DVD. So yeah, but it's
And that's
definitely
actually a remake.
yeah, that's a remake. Yeah, the original was
That's a remake.
the original was black and white.
No one freaked out. Yeah, 83.
83, and then
83.
and then we know that the original was like about the real Scarface, right? It's like,
Yep.
so, I mean, this is a big shocker. I don't know about this. I just learned about this one recently. One of my favorite movies I remember in the 6th grade was Aliens, and I was like, yeah, strong Latina woman, right? Like,
Not
no,
Latina at all.
not Latina at all, dude. She's fucking Jewish.
Yeah. No one freaked out about. I was like, oh, no.
And then guess what? And even though this article came out, the people still didn't freak out because she did a good job.
Well, I'll say one thing.
You
She did a better job than Pacino.
Yeah, that's right. It's
a much better job than Pacino. Which is wild. But yeah, no, I mean, going back, you have Othello.
Yeah.
Othello. And here's the thing, too, that it's really hard for us in the modern world to digest. We really think, and we've been conditioned to think, that there's this linear evolution, that everything gets better as it goes.
Right.
That's why I think we're having a tough time with this period of enshittification, right?
Yeah.
And that somehow in the past, things were even worse. But the reality is things are just a little different in many ways. The ancient Greeks didn't have the same hangups, at least not towards Black people. They did towards the Northerners.
Exactly.
I mean, the last time that Black people in European literature get to be people is Othello.
Right.
That's like the demarcation point, right? Because Othello, not the nicest character, because he's a bit of a jealous prick, but he still an admiral in the Venetian military, in the Navy, and then it drops off. And why does it drop off? The transatlantic slave trade. So we get to see that. So it's just like, how can we have someone who's an admiral during, the 1600s in Shakespeare's play who's Black, and then all of a sudden we can't even create civilizations. We're just completely, incompetent. And the reality is, it was money, the transatlantic slave trade, and that's something that I don't think many of us think about because, again, we look at things like the Star Trek way. We started out in little tribes, then we built villages, then we built cities, then we built nations. Then, we're a stellar civilization. Shit doesn't work that way. It's elliptical.
It's messier.
It's much messier. Oh, yeah. Like people say, well, why?
And then you talk about with trades of spice and trades of technology and craftsmanship and food. You're gonna race mix. Races.
Yeah, it's completely. To give you an example as to what you just said, which is really interesting. When I first moved to France, I was talking with more African people because there's a sizable African population here because of colonization, right?
Yeah.
And they were telling me, oh yeah, if you're from like Bantu and you're like from a different tribe and you intermarry, they call that being mixed.
Right.
Because it's two different cultures. So it's not biological. It's just,
right.
It is. It's Europeans who turned it into something biological.
Right.
I
mean, and then there's this girl who I always thought was Hispanic, and in many ways, she was faking it till she made it, right? Catherine Zeta-Jones was
Welsh.
Yeah, she's Welsh, but she was considered one of the highest paid Latina Latina actresses, and they're like, wait a minute, she's not even Hispanic.
She's Welsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was almost like an accident because she was played in Zorro, and then people
Yeah.
just made that assumption, like, oh, she's Hispanic, but that
Yeah.
clearly was that was the quiet part. Like, well, I made this money in this role, so don't correct them.
Well, what's interesting is when because I knew her before, she was in The Phantom, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, well, she's from the UK.
right,
Could she be Zeta? I thought maybe Greek, because there's a
yeah,
lot of Greeks that have moved there,
right,
or Spanish from Spain, or because there's a lot of people who immigrated due to the economic conditions of
hmm
in Southern Europe to England. But
hmm
not, she's Welsh, you know.
right. And
And
then one of my favorite movies, with I'm a Marlon Brando fan. I don't know if we've ever had that conversation, but
I love
Ricardo
Marlon Brando. Yeah.
Ricardo Montalban was playing a Japanese man in Sayonara.
He wasn't the only one though, dude. Man, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had Sean Connery, you had
right.
Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, with Breakfast and
Um,
Tiffany's. Yeah,
then there's the Charlie Chan series, which
oh,
is
Charlie Chan. Yeah, yeah.
man, that's on YouTube. I skip over those videos. Like when I see them, I'm like, man,
Yeah,
that's
they're all over. What you call it? Amazon too. You get all the Charlie Chans.
yeah,
That's what
that's
Vince O'Neill loved Charlie Chan. So he would talk about when we were in class, the Charlie Chan list. You'd see all the old movies. There's like a theater in Manhattan that would play all the old ones. Uh, so that's the movie. And, yeah, that's I mean, Hollywood is I would say invented the whole blackface and the whole like race swapping, but even contemporary movies like is Tom Holland American? No.
no, no, no. Well, and
Is
here's the thing, like I like to
yeah.
say America did it because the English Elizabethan plays, they used to have
Oh yeah,
people,
that's it.
one, men who would cross dress,
Well,
just like
yeah,
Japan did.
yeah.
Women weren't allowed to act.
Right.
Two, blacken their faces.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
you go back, you read certain sources about Euripides,
yeah.
it was
Women,
not unusual for him to have a black person play one of the characters, and nobody gave a shit,
right.
you know.
Yeah,
And you're talking the ancient world.
right. I mean, we're talking about like, oh, representation. Really? Why was Tom Cruise German?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. He's not German,
Oh, not just him. All these dudes are not German.
right? It's make believe, right?
He's not Canadian. He's Australian.
Actually, it's funny because the first series, cartoon series of X-Men,
Right.
they gave Wolverine an Australian accent.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that, and I'm like,
What
because I
the
was living
fuck?
in Canada as a kid, and I'm like, really, you're gonna freaking do that? It was before the famous one that came out. There was like a little mini series.
Oh
And I was
yes. Was that the one that
like,
had
you're giving
Dazzler
him an
in it?
Australian accent? Are you like,
Yeah. I mean, and then we talk about Greeks, right? Oh, we got to be true to history. Israeli.
yeah,
And actually, I learned that she became an actress in America to avoid some heat that she got for torturing a Palestinian child while she was in the IDF.
damn.
So they basically moved her out of the controversy of Israel and rebranded her, I mean,
If we could all be so lucky.
he's not Norse.
Well, he might be the closest. Because after all, I mean, I'm sure his ancestry is at least mostly from the islands, the UK islands, and the Norse used to trade the Irish and the English. They used to
Right.
sell them as slaves.
Yeah.
So
I
at least
mean,
that might be closer.
she's not a vampire.
No, she's not a vampire.
And not
Not a
from
vampire.
she's not definitely not. And then we got Gary Oldman, great performance.
Not
He's
Romanian.
not Romanian, right? He's not
Not
Romanian.
Romanian. Not Romanian. Yeah, I understand the whole thing of wanting representation. I think people don't understand how powerful it is to, oh yeah, that reflects the world I live in. You're
Right.
not looking into a place that isn't your world, unless of course that's what you go out of your way. Like if I watch a samurai film, I'm
Right.
not freaked out by it. I'm like, yeah, okay. But Friends, how in the hell 5 people in New York or however many they were, they didn't even have a Puerto Rican friend?
Right. Exactly.
Like, how does that happen? So, you know, um,
Exactly.
and unfortunately, that gives a certain impression to others that, oh, yeah. And I think what happens is a lot of people lull themselves into believing this world of, it's just, to them, I guess, this magical world of just white people, and there's none of us that are there. And then when it gets changed up a little bit, they get a little angry. And they might not know they've adopted some of that white supremacist attitude in
Hmm.
a not meaning to, but this attitude, oh no, it has to be like this. It's like,
Hmm.
does it?
Right. And it's just like we don't. I mean, you look at this guy where if you think about Hollywood and where it started, like you go all the way back. One of the highest paid actors of Hollywood was freaking Al Jolson,
Al
right?
Jolson.
And he was a
Yeah.
Lithuanian Jew.
Hmm.
He was the highest paid,
Yeah.
actor of the time, right? So, whoops, I
Yeah.
zoomed in.
So this, oh, what if we could actually? Ann Coulter said some really
Yeah,
hilarious stuff.
right. Oh, I
You know,
zoomed in too much. Yeah.
she's
What
an
was this?
instigator.
Pop- Yeah.
Ann Coulter's an instigator, and she would say something to the effect of, "Yeah, Homer wasn't writing about African gods." So this
Oh
goes
my
to my
God.
Angelos Thanos Andropoulos,
Yeah, yeah.
the one that I sent you, which is he
Mhm.
nailed it. He understood how the ancient world worked back then,
Right.
and he says in his tweet that they acknowledged that they got their gods from Egypt,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Uh, this is not a matter of like, hey, the ancient world didn't give a shit. You
Right.
got your gods. A lot of times he said, oh, yeah, it's kind of like my God.
Hmm.
Like there's an West African god, which is, I think his name is Shongo,
Hmm.
something like that, who's a god of lightning, god of thunder,
Hmm.
god of justice. And I believe he might even have a hammer.
Right.
West Africans would look at Thor and go, hey, he made it all the way up there too, huh? Right? And there would be much more commonality. For the Romans, they would look at and see at the Celtic gods and go, okay, this is kind of like this god, that's kind of like our god here, that god there. It became a form of commonality.
Right.
Christianity really brings this idea, a really strange idea, I would imagine, to the ancient world. This is the only authentic God.
Right.
All the
Right.
other gods don't exist,
Right.
right? But people getting upset about uh, Zendaya playing Athena.
Hmm.
Well, she's not pretty enough. Well, as Susie pointed out, because she studied classics and history, she said
Right.
to me, actually, Athena used to get teased by Aphrodite. She would say, once you remove your helmet, you're not that pretty,
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
But Plato points out that when his ancestor went to Egypt, they told him there is a goddess called Neat,
Hmm.
and and that's where you guys get Athena.
Hmm.
So the gods came from other places. The god Adonis is probably one that cracks me up the most. Anyone who's read The Golden Bough, and it took me years to freaking read this because it was like
Right.
watching paint dry, really dry. And in it, he says the Greeks get to Mesopotamia, that area, and there's a god that everyone's worshiping called Tammuz, which they would refer to as Adon.
Hmm.
The idiots, thinking that that was the god's name, it was actually literally calling him Lord, came
Right.
back and brought back this god and called him Adonis.
Right. Right.
So this idea that everybody just has their little corner, I came up with this, I got a copyright on it.
Right. Right.
That's such
That,
foolishness.
and that Western societies thoughts too. Like, I mean, going back to Al Jolson briefly, you think about war and actors going over to the war front. He in America was the first American actor to do that in World War II and the Korean War. So
Wow.
that just shows you the popularity of him. I mean, he was making movies up into the 50s.
Wow. That's not long ago.
Right?
You
It's
know,
not that long ago.
both of us were born 20 years later. So that's
Right.
like there's a greater distance now today between us and Thriller
Hmm.
than our birth and that crap happening.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
That's
very,
cool.
very, very deeply ingrained. I think what we're seeing is the backlash to Lupita,
Yeah. Yeah.
Helen, which is she's barely in the story anyway. It's the
Hmm.
Odyssey.
Hmm.
It's not
If you think of the comics, you had the same thing. You had Pie Face, Green Lantern sidekick. You had who was Eskimo. You had
yeah.
what's his name? Whitey, right? That was the spirits. Ebony
Oh,
White.
Ebony, yeah.
Yeah, it was blackface, right? You had all these racial
The
sidekicks.
gloves,
The gloves, right? Mickey Mouse, right?
Bugs
Felix.
Bunny.
I mean, the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon had a minstrel song in it. Steamboat Willie, he's whistling a minstrel song. They're just, it's there. It's
Yeah, it's
all
been there. That's what's so funny hearing them say, "Well, what if we did this?" You kind of
right.
already did for the past 100
Right.
years. And it's not the same thing. They're
Right.
not taking Lupita and painting
Right.
her white.
Right.
They're just getting her to play.
It's not white chicks, right?
Right. Exactly. It's not white chicks. Um, you know,
It's like, but it's like Mickey Mouse was the revival of minstrelsism into popular culture, and, and
yeah.
and he was accepted. I mean, nobody's burning Mickey Mouse. There's no piles of Mickey Mouse being burned. No,
No, because, and I've
that's-
seen many people saying, I've seen many Black Americans online saying, and appropriately so, we don't complain because it's just you guys doing your shit.
right.
Right? It's just you being you. Like,
Yeah.
what are we going to say? It's this is just standard. This is how you've always been,
Right.
or let's talk a little bit more recently. Angelina Jolie playing the wife of that New York Times journalist who was
Mm.
killed. And she's clearly at least part Black American. And,
Mm.
you have Angelina Jolie. And I can't remember, there's another actress that played a lady who's from the Pacific Islands. And she's clearly like white, blonde, blue-eyed.
Right.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
it gets to the point of pettiness and ridiculousness.
but I think it also manifests the deep-seated racism in the society, why we're not moving forward.
Yeah. And we're not
Um,
defending it. I mean, it's wrong. I mean, all
yeah.
these things are wrong. But if you look at the history of Hollywood, racism has always been there.
Mhm. Well, I want to
And,
show you
and
if you got the.
it's perpetuated by the ruling class who control entertainment. So,
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like the thing you were going to show about Antonio Banderas.
oh yeah, Antonio Banderas. Let's see.
He was, and something about Southern European actors that's not talked about. And I know it because my good friend was in my Big Fat Greek Wedding, and
Yeah.
he's been acting for a long time, and we've had discussions. And everyone keeps talking about representation, but it has to be said that people of Southern European heritage
Right.
have a tough time because they're seen too ethnic. Like here, Antonio was saying he was told that he could only play bad guys because of his ethnicity. And I
Right.
can tell you, my friend who's 6'2", you
Mhm.
know, green-eyed, he's told he's too ethnic.
Right.
So,
Right.
and so
And it's
this
not
is,
something that's gone away. This is still
but it's not,
standard in Hollywood. This is what they call types.
yeah, but this isn't talked about. So you
Right.
can have all the Nordic people play Southern Europeans, but you can't get Southern Europeans to play Southern Europeans,
Yeah.
even though you have the actors pool. Like who would have been a better choice, in my view, to play someone like Odysseus would have been Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
I mean, the experience, a much better talented actor.
Yeah.
Matt Damon is very overall very flat in my view, and but again, too ethnic.
Right.
So you're too ethnic for your own culture. What does that
Right.
say?
And there was an Amazon show called Priest, I think. Yeah, and I haven't seen it yet, but I heard that Amazon was trying to cast a white actor for that show, even though clearly the character's black in the books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2026.
So when we're talking about privilege and whatnot, if we lived in a world where we had such a mixed bag of people who were acting and everything else, I could be a little bit more like, yeah, okay. But because we're really not, this getting upset over Lapita playing Helen, when you have people like Antonio, you you have to understand, when I saw him as Zorro, even though he was a Mexican, I was like, holy shit, we finally got someone who's a Spanish speaker who's actually playing Zorro.
Right.
Before that, it was all these Anglo guys.
Right. Right.
I was like, yeah, finally, we find,
I'd like to
you
get
know,
a Puerto Rican playing a Mexican.
it's still, at least it's closer, right?
So Hispanic. I mean, but we don't care. We love the movie, right? The movie's
We love
good.
the movie, but imagine if you got Matt Damon playing a Mexican.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
John Wayne playing a Native Indian?
Or Genghis Khan.
Or Genghis Khan.
He played Genghis Khan, dude. Like Genghis Khan. And they're sitting here saying, what if? Like, there's no what if that just,
Right.
dig
Or even
through
the comics,
DVD
Marvel just
stacks.
made Black Panther white, right?
And the thing is, in the comic, he had a white kid that he adopted, who apparently, I haven't read it, but he was a screw up.
Right. But
So
the thing is deeper than that, because see, people are like, oh, they're race trading Black Panther, but it's not about that. What that's really about, and a lot of people don't know, is that Black Panther was not from Marvel. Jack Kirby stole that character. He did not invent the Black Panther. The Black Panther already existed as a Golden Age character, and he was white. He was like a Tarzan looking dude, And then that artist lady, his name was Mr. Fury, and then later on they introduced Mrs. Fury, and Mrs. Fury had a more unique response, I guess, for sales or whatever. So then Mrs. Fury, which is basically DC ripped off for Catwoman, So I think that's why Marvel was doing that for like a legal reason,
Yeah.
To basically take claim of ownership of that character, as a whole, because he's basically public domain. So they're basically taking a public domain character, the Black Panther, and saying, "Well, now we just made him white." It's not about race that they did that. It's about, we need to own this fucker, because that family can come and sue, which legitimately, even though it's public domain, that family, if the guy had any siblings or peers or whatever, they could say, hey, this is the Black Panther's our invention, right? So this predates Jack Kirby's Black Panther by over 10 years. So that's what it's really about. But people latched onto the controversy of him, like, oh, this is like a response to DEI and blah, blah, blah. But no, this was an actual comic book,
DEI's, ultimately what I'm saying, DEI has been happening in reverse forever.
I mean, look, even the mask is the same, the way that Jack Kirby wanted to show it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, oh, no, well, he was black, so they had to cover his face. They didn't want people to know, once you opened the book, you knew he was black.
Right.
Like,
well, and here's the thing. These are fictional characters, and people are treating someone like Helen of Troy, born from a goose's egg, as an actual human historical person. First of all, we really don't know if there was a Trojan War. We
Right,
kind
exactly.
of know that there was some sort of conflict. And
Right,
what they know is that it was a conflict over trade routes, not a woman.
right,
That seems to
exactly.
be like a literary device, right?
Right,
And when you go back in time and you look at the powers that be,
right,
it was Egypt and Persia.
right,
Greece was just like, and literally, the Greeks were told, as Plato puts out maybe you'll see one of the quotes later, but he says,
right,
"You're nothing but oh, you Greeks are nothing but children." Put that
right.
in perspective. We look to them as the ancients,
Hmm.
and back then they were being told they're kids.
Right,
So there's a difference between a historical person, say like Obama,
right,
versus a
right,
person born from a goose's egg.
right, right, right.
You know,
Or like Geordie LaForge.
exactly. It's like, you know, um,
Yeah, I just saw that Marvel has it on their database that Mrs. Fury is their property, even though she's public domain.
it's public domain. Oh, they must have come up with some new version of Miss Fury, I guess, right?
But they have the golden age image here. So look at that. It's like
That's
she's a
ridiculous.
so this is these companies. She's
Hmm.
a golden age comic book. She's not owned by
Disney
Marvel.
started this nonsense with
Yeah,
Cinderella, Snow White, and everything
yeah, they're
else.
just stealing people's
There was a town that was suing Disney over the design of Mickey Mouse, a town in Germany,
right.
because they were saying that design had already been done like hundreds of years before.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
those are S&M suits that you could buy in the mail. I mean, it's like,
yeah, yeah.
where do you think they got the idea from? The comic book people got the design from something that was being sold, during in catalogs.
Well, and
So
even the bat
S&M
logo,
subculture.
the bat logo, if you go to Valencia, Spain, that's their regional like animal, the bat.
Yeah.
And you'll see the bat like
Yeah, the
everywhere.
Batman logo. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and
Infantino
that's like
logo.
hundreds of years old. You
Right,
know, it's like old compared to Batman, old as dirt.
right, right. Exactly. The Valencia flag. Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember doing that research years ago, when I was. That's one of the things I brought up in the lawsuit, when I was being sued by Marvel and DC. Like that's how I learned a lot of this stuff. It's just like,
Yeah,
you know,
well, that was the region I was living in when I moved back to Spain because my mom grew up there
yeah,
in Valencia. Here's another weird sort of little tie
yeah,
that most people don't say because I know there's a lot of Greeks going, well, Greek
mhm,
culture is part of Greek culture, and it's like I hate to break this to you guys, but you were colonizers,
yeah,
and how the city of Marseille here in France was founded by the Greeks as a port.
mhm,
Valencia, to this day, as a kid, to this day, the word we use for grandmother in Valencia is yaya, which is Greek for grandmother. And I remember arguing with a boss of mine who was Greek. We argued for hours in a car ride as we're driving. He goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna go visit my yaya's grave," and I'm like, "Oh, that's a Spanish word." And he's like, "No, it's not. It's Greek." And we argued. So finally,
right,
I get back home. And I'm like, this Greek guy telling me the word yaya is Greek, and she says he's right. It is Greek. It's because Valencia, we use it there because it was a Greek port.
right,
So to say, oh, Greek culture stays there, no, you guys spread that shit around. Now, in terms of cultural appropriation
right,
and them complaining about it, well, guess what? The Romans appropriated it and changed all the names. Odysseus is not Odysseus for the Romans, it's Ulysses.
right.
So that appropriation happened long ago.
Exactly. And
So,
I think that's part of where our that's part of nature. I think that people are like, oh, that looks cool. Let's make a flag. It's like,
yeah, yeah, it's
it's
it's how
like
we
that's
communicate,
right. So it's a part of communication. It's part of
part of
travel.
communication.
You
It's
know,
sort of way, it's almost like a form of flattery in a way. I'm taking my time to adopt this from you, as long as you recognize that you're taking it from them, because the Greeks did. They never said to the Egyptians, "Oh, yes, we invented it." The Egyptians were like, "Ah, no." They said we got it from them. As long as you
right,
acknowledge that, I think it's cool because you're saying, "I think that your culture is worth enough for me to adopt because there's some really interesting and good ideas in that culture," right?
right,
I think this obsession. But here's the flip side. For the Northerners, and something I know about more Northern Europe tends to have a sort of insecurity issue about Southern Europe. And this is not talked about in North America because we just think it's just Europe, right?
Right.
Their earliest writings really are Beowulf. That's
Exactly.
really early. Like when they sit there and a British person or a Nordic person or anyone of Northern descent starts poking fun at Africans for not having writing, which is bullshit, they did.
Mhm.
That African could literally turn around and go, well, how come you use Southern European writing?
Right.
The closest they had were runes, and how runes are usually disparaged were like bastardized versions of Greek letters,
Right.
right? So there is that side, but instead of like dealing with like, yeah, we got some shit we got to work out, we're not going to be so hard. No, they try to go to the Southern Europe and try to take it as their culture. We're Western civilization. And let
Right.
me tell you, there's some big differences in cultures, like big differences. As a kid, I remember this staying up at night because Spanish people are night people.
Right.
I remember when I going back, man, being a teacher and seeing my 8-year-old students out with their parents at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, they're going to be a basket case tomorrow because Spain has the worst sleeping habits. But anyway, going from Spain as a kid, seeing nightlife, and I'm not talking nightlife going out and drinking, just people just browsing around because the sun is so hot that
Right.
you go out at night. And then moving to Ottawa, and around 6:30, 7:30, there's not a soul on the street.
Exactly.
There's a difference in culture when you're organizing yourselves differently that like that. This idea of Western civilization is really messed up. So,
Well,
um,
they're brainwashed, is what it is. They're
mhm,
brainwashed into this, and it all stems from colonialism, racism, Jim Crow, right? And then
mhm,
you just take your pick, the fucking birth of a nation,
mhm.
Nazism, it's
and and race needs to be important for cultures that don't have a history to go back on or a
right.
culture,
There you go.
right?
Look at this symbol. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is an artifact, right? That's,
Yeah, that is King Memnon. So everyone talking about Troy being accurate, if you've read the actual Iliad, there are two characters missing from Troy, and it's one of the reasons it drives me so freaking crazy.
Mhm.
One of them is King Memnon, king of the Ethiopians, who comes to help his cousin King Priam, who is king of Troy. And King Memnon, being Ethiopian, he was black, and he is the guy who first injures Achilles.
Mhm.
But we never see him. Why? Because he's a black character,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
didn't see anyone saying, well, it's, yeah, you know. And over here we have, this is from Plato,
Right.
right? And he says here, oh, yes. So this is Plato's ancestor in Egypt. And this is what he says, and this kills me. Um, he says, I got to zoom in. A little bit. And by recounting the number of years occupied the events mentioned, he tried to calculate the periods of time because he's talking about the different calamities that have happened. Whereupon one of the priests, prodigiously old man said, "Oh, Solon, Solon, you Greeks are always children. There is not such a thing as an old Greek." And hearing this, he asked, "What you mean by this saying?" And the priest replied, "You're young in soul, every one of you, for therein you possess not a single belief that is ancient and derived from old tradition, not yet one science that is hoary with age." Think of this. We're thinking of the Greeks as being, oh, the inspiration for Western civilization. And the Egyptians are looking at them going, listen, kid. And this is something that I think we haven't put it into perspective. Now, mind you, what would the Egyptians think of the Norse if they're thinking of this about the Greeks,
Exactly.
right? Uh, Very important to realize this. And the Greeks, didn't take it to insult. They knew,
Hmm.
you know. Um,
I
so
remember
yeah.
you guys, the Jehovah's Witness, when we was working on this I wouldn't say temple. It was like a hall. They renovated a movie theater back in the 90s, and I was a volunteer construction person. And they had these painters that worked for the Watchtower magazine in Brooklyn, and they're painting all these Bible scenes on the wall.
I remember that
All right.
Watchtower in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Right. So then it's like I go to the opening of the theater when we had the grand opening. It was maybe like a year or 2 years later after I did the construction. And there were scenes of Paul and the Ethiopian, and he was white. Like not even a shade darker, not even it was
That's
like,
crazy.
and I was just looking at that and I started laughing. I'm like, what the fuck? All the Bible characters are white, first of all, right? Some of them are tan.
But
But
the
the
Ethiopian,
Ethiopian is fucking white. I'm like, are you kidding me? That pissed me off. And I'm not even black. I was like,
that's crazy.
and they're like,
And the thing is,
well, and then like when I was like laughing about it to some of these, white brothers, right? And they're like, well, there were different shades in Ethiopia. I was like, no, 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 dude. That dude
no,
fucking half.
no.
Same thing with Job. They depicted Job as a white man, where in the very first paragraph, first sentence, Job was an Asian man. He's Asian. He's not white. So even in the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is like a modern, it's supposed to be the hip Christians, right? It's like even they were whitewashing Bible characters.
I'm going to give you an example of how I came about learning about Ethiopian Christianity. I kind of
Mhm,
roughly knew, but I didn't really, really know when I
mhm.
was young. I used to apprentice as a tombstone maker, so I used to make
Oh,
tombstones.
nice.
And my boss was Greek,
Mhm.
George. George is a very common name. They love that name, George, because of Saint George, right? So
Yeah,
he kept bugging me to go to his church, his Greek Orthodox church. And I'm like, look,
yeah.
man, I don't want to go. Eventually, I'm like, all right, George, I'll go with you. The day I go in to his Greek Orthodox church, one side is all Greek people. On the other side, it's all Ethiopians.
Whoa, whoa, they
And,
divided it even there at the
and no,
church.
no, I sit down, right? I'm like, what's going on here? Heck, like black
Oh, you're
people with
Greek.
Greeks? What's going on, right? Other than me, I was the black guy hanging out with the Greeks.
Right.
Although I have some other funny stories because I have a friend that was Greek. But anyway, so I sit down, and the priest comes out and says, "We want to thank the Ethiopian congregation because they're Orthodox
Right.
coming here and joining and meeting us Greek Orthodox." And then it freaking hit me. I'm like, "Oh shit! They're both from the Orthodox tradition." This
Right.
tradition runs really, really deep. Um, actually, I've been slowly with Susie working it into my what was Super Corporate Heroes past due. One of the characters is Ethiopian, but and that tradition, and they had an embassy here in Europe during the Middle Ages from Ethiopia because they were one of the Christian kingdoms. So this idea of like, hey, they're different shades, bullshit. They're black people,
Right.
and the Greeks have a problem with it. They're like shaking hands. Hey, I was like, my brain was sort of just blown away. I was about 18 at the time. And
Right.
that set me on a course of realizing, hey, one, you being black and Spanish is not that unusual. There've been many of us that have existed. But there's this whole other world that exists that has so many amazing stories if we get past the white supremacist lens
Right.
of the world to be
Right.
told
Exactly.
um, that we're missing. Another
Yeah.
story, and just because I grew up with a lot of Greeks, right?
And then you realize, oh, he brought me because I'm his black friend.
Right. I was just like, what? Right.
That's
No,
funny.
oh man, George is great. He was hilarious. He's the guy that I argued with over the word yeah, yeah. I learned some stuff from him. He hopefully learned some stuff from me.
Yeah.
But I had another friend who was black and grew up. He was adopted, by a Greek family.
Mm.
So by all intents and purposes, culturally, this dude was Greek. You would never guess it. He had jerry curl. He had a big onk. And he's always at the clubs dancing. And one
Mm.
day I was talking to him, and my buddy George goes, "Hey, tell him when you first went to Greece." He's like, "Oh yeah." So he goes to Greece. He's walking down the street, and this guy yells out at him, "Hey, Mavros," which in Greek means black guy. He turns around and in perfect Greek yells at him, "Hey, Aspros," which means white guy. He said this guy literally, his cigarette just fell to the ground. He was like, "What?" So there's a whole world out there
Right.
beyond this black and white world that we're presented, even today,
Yeah,
that we're losing out on
because
because of
people don't read history, and then libraries. I don't know if you know,
yeah,
there was a systematic shift in America where they were throwing out all the old library books and putting in all the new ones. Even when I worked in
yeah.
the prison, we had some really good uh, old books from like the 1900s. Like, oh, these books are old, we're throwing them out. And then some books were from the 80s, and I was like, why are they throwing these out? These are brand. Well, you could take them if you want. So I took a bunch of stuff. They even were throwing out books from the early 2000s. There was an encyclopedia collection on the war on terrorism.
Wow. Wow.
I have it in my library. I'm like, I'm taking this. And then there was an old Bible with maps. I'm sure they want to throw it out because it says Palestine.
Well, and here's something that I know, and I know this quite well from growing up with Southern Europeans.
Mm,
Um, they often view Northern Europeans as not wanting to hang on to their culture, that they're
mhm.
very quick to adapt and throw things away. You know,
Right.
they'll warn their children, "Oh, don't marry an English person or whatever because
Mhm.
they'll divorce you and take your children away." And they don't really have that connection to family. That's a
Right.
that's a huge cultural difference, right?
Oh, big time, big time.
But
Yeah.
then we think, "Oh, Europe, one unit." No, it's not. So with throwing that away, they would be like, "What are you doing throwing those books away?" Like, we need to preserve those. Those are very important to
Right.
keep.
Exactly.
And not doing that is so
Just like
yes.
microfilm machines, when they got rid of the microfilm machines, I was like, why are they getting rid of this? Because they don't want people to go back
Yeah,
and
but then eventually they can't go back. They have to remake stuff.
well, they want to erase everything, you know. I think they're not even digitizing it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what's funny about that too is talking about microfilm. When DC tried to come up, they didn't just go for my trademark, they tried to go for my copyright.
oh
And
wow.
and I had renewed my copyright in the early digital the internet of the copyright office. They didn't have a category. Like if you had it on paper, you can say this is an update, put your original number in there. Like you're
Mhm.
updating an old copyright by adding more information to it.
Right, right.
So I did that in 2007 with A World Without Superheroes, right? But there was no category to for
To
for the
update?
for the update like on paper. So I just submitted it digitally. It was cheaper, right? It was literally 50% cheaper. So I did that. And when DC and Marvel in 2010, 2011 came at me and they're like, well, your copyright, we're going to invalidate your copyright because that's from 2007. And A World Without Superheroes, we own the word superhero. I was like, in copyright. I was like, yeah, but it's not a world without superhero. It's the literal element. What are you talking about? So I told the lady, I said, well, this is a renewal. Like she was calling me every day like this. I was like, I was like, why are you calling me? Like, because it's like usually you'll have someone call you from the office when the if something's not correct on the application and they'll try to correct it so they don't have to cancel it.
Mhm.
But usually that's within a few months of you filing. If they're backed up, maybe a year, but not 2010, 2011. No, it's like, so I was like, well, the original number, I have the original number. I call back. And so, because I filed that when I was 19, that's 1993, is when I actually copyrighted The World Without Superheroes.
Oh
And
wow.
how far back it goes. I didn't have it in print till 2000 in color But
Wow.
when I was in college, I made photocopies, gave them to my friends. That's in print, and
Mhm.
I gave them out as portfolios. It was part of my portfolio when I was looking for art jobs, right? So I had this. I was giving out this comic book to like places like HBO and stuff like that, like as little booklets with my resume and stuff, like for
Mhm.
storyboarding or whatever. I mean, back then I knew that comic books wasn't storyboarding, but that's all I had. I didn't have a decent storyboarding proposal. I did one. I did a storyboarding class and did a bunch of storyboard roughs. But then I also that was with Carmine. He did storyboarding and comics, and then I also attached comic books so people could see what the finished, refined work was. Because back then, they didn't care about finished artwork and storyboarding. It could be rough. It could be draft like,
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Yep. It was
uh,
just to get the rough idea.
right, to get the rough idea. So I had a portfolio of rough drawings, but then I was like, well, I wanted to see how my work looks. So anyway, this is 2010, not that long ago. But I remember the lady saying when I gave her the code, she was like, because she kept calling me a bunch of times. She was like, that's in our vaults in our I can't go that far back on the computer. That's on the microfilm, the 1993 files. That's in another building. She was like, can you provide me copies of that? I was like, nope. She wanted me to send her samples of what I filed. No, I have
Wow.
it.
Wow.
I even have envelopes I used to mail to myself copies of my artwork and sometimes the original and keep it sealed in the envelope. I still have those sealed. All right. So it's
Wow.
like, so I was like, that's not my job. I said, I guess you got to go to the archive to prove it wrong. I'm not providing you with anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
upset.
And here's the problem with erasing stuff.
Hmm.
There comes a point. See, we always wonder, well, why did the ancient Egyptians not tell us how they built the pyramids?
Right.
Well, we need to clear this out, right? We need to get rid of this. Eventually, you get to a point where the microfiche, whatever's gone,
Hmm.
and now you don't know how shit was made.
Right.
The bad part about not keeping those records is then losing knowledge.
Right.
So,
I think
you
it's intense,
know,
you know,
yeah,
or
well,
stupidity or both.
stupidity, sheer stupidity. Because in the short run, it might be mean and intentional and sinister, but in the long run, it's stupidity because you never know when you have to run back to those records
Right.
to be able to then build whatever. Like, for example, whether one believes or not that our country made it to the moon is indifferent to me. What matters more is that NASA literally threw out a whole bunch of their documents.
Right. Right. But they didn't throw him out until what's his name?
Elon,
No, Richard Cunningham. What was his name? Richard Cunningham.
Ron Howard. Yeah,
Ron
Ron Howard.
Howard was so sick of people saying that the moon landing was fake that he went to NASA and he asked for the original footage because he wanted to do an IMAX film of that movie. So he wanted to super enhance it into whatever K it was when IMAX first came out, right? And that's when they said, well, we threw it all out. The footage doesn't exist because with the
Well,
4K, and we're not 4K, but whatever it was, 1080p, whatever it was when IMAX came out, would have shown whether or not that shit was fake or not.
but it was customary to throw a lot of stuff out. Like
Well, yeah, yeah, but I mean, think about that.
Doctor Who. There are episodes you can't see from the original Doctor Who because it just got
Mhm,
completely trashed. I was just watching a thing on Wicker Man because
mhm,
the company switched over. The original Wicker Man, as we know it, that horror, we'll
right,
never see it. It's gone.
right. A lot of the film rotted too in canisters, because
Yeah, there was that, but this particular one literally got
yeah,
tossed out.
right. I mean,
So,
there's a foundation in Hollywood that goes after old movies for preservation, because you have to
in that
change.
case, piracy is not so bad.
Right, and they exactly.
If you're an archivist, it's like, okay, someone's got a copy. And that's how we got most of the movies we have today. Is someone had a pirated copy
Right,
of some
right.
of the movies that we have. So, um,
Exactly. No, I mean, I actually was saw this video. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm gonna have to research it. They said that if you have owned more than 1,000 books, you can register your home as a library and become tax exempt. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've got more than 1,000
Yeah,
books.
unfortunately, I don't think that'll be France.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because if that, I'd be looking into that for
Right.
sure.
It's
Right.
like,
Yeah, I love to read, as you can already tell.
yeah.
But yeah, I know you do too. So,
Yeah.
oh, there's one other thing on the Lapita thing I want to bring up,
What was
and
that?
it was the one about the Ethiopians and how it was. Yes, you read my
Yeah.
mind. Ancient Greeks oddly believed in a supernatural Ethiopia with superhuman Ethiopians.
Hmm.
So they believed black people had special powers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's round it back to Lapita.
Right. Exactly.
The Greeks would have been like, yeah, yeah, we want a supernatural son.
Right. Exactly.
Yes, the Memnon, who was black, as I was pointing out earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, they wouldn't have had a problem with it. And now there were Asians who were chiming in. They were saying, well, what if we made Black Panther Asian? And why aren't there any Asians in the Trojan War? And voila, the internet will melt down because one of
Right.
the actors, if you go over here to you just passed it. It was the one with
Oops. Yeah.
the Latino dudes right after Antonio.
This thing keeps going to the internet.
Keeps
No, I
jumping.
don't. Yeah, keeps jumping.
Meta is just garbage,
These
man.
damn ads. Try it again.
It's Meta's just, man. There we go. So Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey casts Jesse Garcia, which is okay. I mean, he's closer to the Mediterranean for sure. I'm sure he might have some Spanish in there working in. Unfortunately, not from the nicest means than Matt Damon. And we have the actor who's Korean, Will Young Lee. So
Well,
for
you
those
even
of
had
you saying,
remember that Matt Damon movie where he was in China? Like it was another white savior film. It didn't do well here in the US,
did
but
you see it?
I did see it.
I did see. I saw it too. It
It
really
wasn't
didn't
too
end up
bad.
being much of a white savior, more than like a bunch of white guys trying to steal shit, which
Right.
gunpowder. But
Yeah. It was interesting. It was an interesting film.
yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. But the way that they marketed it, yes, it had that white savior thing to it. I think
But you know
that's
what's funny? That movie did very well in Asia. They loved that.
because they're more open about it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're the ones with the hangups.
Right.
You know,
They were
Even a
like,
lot of the
hey,
African
we got
stuff,
a
like,
Matt Damon. Matt Damon is
like, and think of Black Panther, right? In Africa.
right.
Africans still went to see it.
Right, exactly.
Even though they're like, yeah, that's really not us. But yeah, okay.
That's American. Those are American.
That's America, right?
Wakanda doesn't exist.
Yeah, Wakanda does not exist. Although Ethiopians will tell you they're Wakanda.
Oh, yeah. Well, technically, yeah. Historically,
Technically, yeah. Although the Eritreans don't care much for the Ethiopians, so there's that complex. And here's the other thing: it's like, oh, Black Africans and sub-Saharan. Well, which culture are we talking about?
Right. I mean, Black
Again,
Panther
that
was
blog,
created
right?
by Jack Kirby. I mean, people got upset when they found out, like these same trollers, were upset when they found out that Jack Kirby was Jewish, that he could create a Black Panther. They thought it was a black guy. It's like, then they were like, oh, and then the best stories are written by an Italian. Like, it's like,
Hey, good story's good story, right?
I mean, Don McGregor is an amazing writer. It's like, it's all about channeling that energy. And I'm all for representation. I'm not trying to defend, West Side Story or any of these things. But a good story is a good story, and but what I will argue and rally for always is, hey, where's our seat at the table?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's bigger, more than who's playing what, is where's our seat at the table? I mean, let's face it, it's like Hollywood is in California. California was a lot of Mexicans, right? It was Mexico. And we don't see Mexicans or even any Latinos really represented strongly
Dude.
still.
Oh no.
You know?
If I tell you this, you're gonna think it's absolutely freaking crazy, and I might be making it up. But years ago, when I was in Spain, I had a student, and she was telling me she had to go do her master's in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So she went down to the American consulate in Spain to get her paperwork done with her friend who's German, who's going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're given the papers, and you have to check off nationality or race or whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
German guy, European.
Yeah.
German guy, European.
Right.
She goes to check off European. She's like, no, you got to check off Latino.
Right.
She's like, Spain is in Europe. No disrespect to Latinos, but
Right.
Spain is in Europe. No, you got to check off Latino.
No, it's not. But Spanish aren't Latinos.
Exactly. This is the exact nonsense that, for all this accuracy people are talking about,
Latinos are the slaves that way.
It's crazy, Ray. It's absolutely crazy. And I had one other student that was telling me, yeah, when I was like, I think he was in Idaho or someplace. When I was in Idaho, it was like Colorado or something, at the university there. And his prof, and this is university, believed Spain was in Mexico.
Right.
A professor.
Right.
And he's like, no, Spain is in Europe. No, it's. So what do we do at the higher levels when you have people that ignorant, right?
Well, I mean, think about this. It's like Mexicans shouldn't even be a category. It should be Native Indian.
Yeah.
Southern Native Indians, right? They're from the south.
And some are Afro-Mexican.
Afro-Mexican, yeah.
Yeah, like their first president.
Yeah.
So
it's stupid. I don't even participate in those anymore. I just check not wanting to participate in this. I'm not.
When I first did the census stateside, I'm doing it, and I'm like, pause a second. I'm thinking to myself, what if we get a nut and he goes crazy, and then he can find all of us, right? Fast forward to me moving to France, learning a little bit more of the history, why they don't have race on their census. Why is it? Because when the Nazis got in, they looked through the census and found everyone who they didn't want.
Right. Exactly. Same thing with this 23andMe thing. On one hand, I was like, "Oh, that sounds like cool," but then they're using it for what? And why is BlackRock buying it? It's like,
yeah.
And now this stuff came out with Jeffrey Epstein, actually with Bill Gates. There's a lot of pages of Epstein and Bill Gates talking about the COVID vaccine.
Depopulating.
Right, depopulation. And he did say that on a TED Talk.
Yeah, he did. Even though he couldn't wrap it up and he got an STD.
Right, exactly.
and then,
that's what I'm asking,
But guess what? And then he turns around and emails Jeffrey Epstein, not his doctor,
right?
Some dude he just met at a party. Hey, can you send me some, antibiotics so I can sneak it into Belinda's food?
Right.
And this guy, I'm supposed to listen on health, and no.
He's like he's roofing his wife.
Yeah, exactly. Because he got an STD fooling around on her, right?
Yeah. My God. The insanity and stupidity of it all.
Absolutely.
We just live in the world of stupid.
Yeah, actually, I think it was Machiavelli said, don't attribute to malice what could be incompetence.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that is that the people that run the show are not that bright. It's hard for us to digest because we want to see them as diabolical villains. Because in a way, you're like, okay, but they're still in control. If we think of them as like Mel Brooks morons, then the scary part is no one has their hand on the wheel, and we're just freely driving into God knows what. That's scarier, in my view.
Sure, man. Sure, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
So, any comments?
I was just looking at the comments, but no comments. People have been bouncing in and out as we've been talking.
Okay.
But I'm gonna actually have to wrap this up. We'll close up in the next 9 minutes because I want to. It's Memorial Day. I want to see my father's grave in the Bronx.
Understandable.
Before traffic gets crazy and people come back from their vacations.
Doubly understandable. Doubly understandable. But yeah, I felt that whole thing with Lupita had to be tackled because it is more than just her. It's just racism, and racism directed at
Absolutely
a person who, she might have. I'm not a big fan of Nolan per se. I find his work to be very cold.
Mm-hmm.
Too cold for the Mediterranean, but
I mean, John Leguizamo was attacked also when he was doing like classical stuff too in the movies. I forgot which film it was, and they were like, it's just like, come on, give me a break, man.
Yeah,
it's Broadway, like we were talking about, earlier. The Greeks, women, and the Japanese men played all the roles. Women weren't allowed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't seen as gay or anything like that. They played all the roles. That's how dominated the male society was. Like, no, you're not doing it. You don't act, lady.
And here's the other thing.
Here's
one more thing for you. Ancient Greece wasn't a place called Greece. It was different cultures.
Right.
So, for example, this is where a lot of people really miss out on something very important about Sparta. Mm-hmm. Spartan women were actually the freest women in antiquity. So when we read Homer, if he even existed, his version of Troy,
the blind guy that wrote all this stuff down,
writing about, and he wasn't he was a Spartan,
right?
So he's writing about a Spartan woman. There were certain stereotypes about Spartan women being loose. That, for example, Aristotle went off on how much freedom Spartan women had.
Right.
So there's another cultural lens. Like, for example, if you told me, a Spanish guy is going to write a Portuguese epic, he might be really good historically, everything else, but he still might be tainted by his Spanish lens.
Right.
So we even have to be very look at Homer and go, okay, you're writing it, but you're from this island. You're viewing Sparta or whoever else is from your lens,
right?
Because we're still, no matter what, anchored to our respective cultures.
Absolutely.
So that has to be understood too.
And Homer was in college, from what I remember, is that my professor saying that he didn't even invent these stories or create them. These are stories that were orally traditioned, spoken,
compiled
hundreds of years, and he was just the one that scribed or had someone scribe them down, I guess,
like the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, exactly, like the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, and people don't know Aesop. Aesop was actually black.
Mm-hmm.
Aesop is a play on the word Ethiopian.
Right.
That's why you have a lot of stories of animals and stuff with it. The ancient world didn't give a shit about what we care about today.
No.
In a very frustrating and sad way, we're sort of trying to get back to it, I hope.
Right.
So that, it's weird, but it's like we deviated.
Not into that extreme of so I love watching the Jeffersons and people have become so tribal that, and I talk about like liberals, I'm a liberal, so I get to mess with them. Say I got to get that disclaimer, but it's like a lot of liberals have become so intolerant about an opposing view. And I talk to Republicans, and I have a lot of family members are Republicans, and I've met many people, that I work with that are Republicans, and they're more open and accepting, even though they're not claiming Trump at this point, though the black ones aren't anymore, right? They're like,
right.
When he got reelected, they're like, yeah, I voted for Trump. That's my guy. It's like now they're like,
right.
They're not saying that. They're not standing on 10 toes on that anymore, but the white ones are.
Yeah.
But they were more, I have to say, I went to a Trump rally and they were more friendlier. I have to say, they call them dumb, stupid, ignorant. They were friendlier, I think, more than when I went to the AOC and Bernie Sanders rally, which is sad for me because I love Bernie and AOC. And I say that in the context of presenting a political satire comic book, and people were like, "Oh, you did a comic book on Trump?" And they'll just take their money out and just throw it at you, literally throwing money at you. Whereas, my liberal brethren are like, "I don't want that. No, I don't need money. No." It's like, get
I
that
think a
away.
lot of it.
They're more like they're not more they're uptight. They're you could they could shit diamonds if they wanted to. It's like it's like
And here's the thing: there's a tendency to be serious and all this other stuff, but not factual.
right,
So if you know your history and stuff, and
right,
someone opposes you,
right,
you should be able to go, "That's factually incorrect. This and this," and
right. And
pull it
have
off
have
pretty
a conversation.
playfully, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead, it's, "You're dumb. That
Yeah,
isn't good enough." You need to then follow it up with,
yeah.
"This is why," and then
Educate them, right? It's what happened to the teaching moment, right?
yeah,
Did
and
we
now
just
that
abandon that?
we've all grown, let's move
Yeah,
on,
right.
right? I think that's part of it, and
I think there's a need for people to feel that they need to be agreed with, and there's an intolerance of if you don't agree with me, I'm not talking to you.
feel better than.
You know?
I think
Yeah,
it's feel better than.
yeah, yeah. Like the superiority, like, hey, I
Yeah.
pay taxes to be a liberal. It's just
Or
like I say, like Democrats. Basically, we have the dirtiest cities. We have like drug addicts all over the street. We have we pay the highest taxes. It's like we're paying the higher taxes for the privilege of saying I'm a liberal. It's like, but then you go to fucking Texas or like any southern state, or it's fucking clean. The streets are clean. The taxes are cheaper. It's like even where I live here, it's mostly Republican. It's a fucking clean neighborhood. You go to where mostly are the liberals living. It's fucking nasty. It's scary. And it's like,
well,
why is that? Why are the Democrats stealing our tax dollars and not providing us with a decent infrastructure that,
on the flip side, though,
you know,
the Republican states are setting up the data centers,
right.
so you're going to have no water.
Oh, that's
And
true. Well,
take, for
that's a
example,
recent phenomenon.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas doesn't have all the taxes, but when it
Right.
got hit with that frost,
Right. Oh, they were
its electric grid just collapsed, right?
right. Yeah.
So I think
That
both
was
sides have a lot to work
global
on.
warming does exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think both sides need to really work on it. But instead of actually finding, okay, we all
No, but
want
it pisses me off, like I pay a shitload of taxes. I want to see my taxes represented,
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand.
And that's why I say that. It's not that I'm like, siding with the Republicans, but like, come
Yeah,
on, guys, we got to do better.
and
Fucking
that's the problem.
and
Talking
Nancy
about
Hope or
doing
whatever.
better is like betrayal.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that if you bring that up, I remember I had two white liberal friends who unfriended me because I had mentioned we should get rid of the electoral college, and they
Right.
just freaked out on me.
But that's from
As opposed,
slavery.
yeah, because of slavery.
Right.
And doing better doesn't, or bringing out criticisms, I always find that it's, as long as it's constructive, it's not, just being nitpicky.
Right.
It's a way of saying, I care, and I think we can do better.
Right. And we
There's
could all do
nothing
better.
wrong with that.
We could all do better, And I argue with my family all the time. Like we have a group chat, and I just tease them. They're sensitive. Don't make fun of Jesus. Don't make fun of, and don't criticize Donald Trump. But I do it anyway.
Don't criticize Jesus. Poor Jesus.
The fact that they don't have an opinion about Trump putting himself as Jesus pisses me off. Like, hold on a second. You come at me when I shared Jesus in a GTA ad that I didn't even create, but somebody else. It was actually a MAGA guy that did that. It was Jesus with a machine gun, and it was saying GTA Bethlehem edition. I thought it was funny,
Damn.
and I shared it with them. I had two cousins were like remove themselves from the chat. They were mad. It's like I can still call them and talk to them, but they were
I
just so,
have seen so much worse.
they were
I've
like,
seen,
but
and I'm just,
Trump says he's Jesus or the Pope. Oh, forget it.
I've seen Jesus when in Spain. I've seen pictures of Jesus because they're just, man, they'll just tease everything in garter belts. I've seen Jesus smoking, holding a cigarette through the hole in his hand. Um, like at some point you're just like, and here's the thing: if you are Jesus and you come back, right,
Right,
is the one symbol you're gonna want to ever see is the cross,
right.
or
No,
you
that's
can be like,
yeah,
what happened when I left? Because this was not my most favorite moment in my life
right,
at that moment,
right.
right?
Wouldn't a symbol be something else? Like like
It used to be the fish.
right, the fish, but that comes from that fish clan too, right? That's
Mhm.
Dagon, right?
And then you had the anchor was another one, the sailor's anchor.
Yeah, you have the
Um,
same anchor,
he
yeah.
didn't always have the beard. He was actually a young-looking guy like Apollo.
Right. It's like
The beard
it's
was
like
to make him
skinny
look
Buddha,
older.
fat Buddha, right?
Right? Yeah, there's so many of these things. At the end of the day, it's you remember Monty Python's Life of Brian,
Oh yeah, I love that.
where they're like, he's got a shoe. Now we're the people a shoe.
That's you.
We argue so much over little shit, but really, if you get down to his actual teaching, is like about treating each other better.
Right.
That's the
The life,
core of it. That's it. The
the life
rest of
of,
it,
wasn't
how
the
you
life of
look.
Brian when it ended with a police riot beating them?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
We are the Suicide Squad.
The Bobbies come out and start beating up
Well,
everybody.
that was Holy Grail. That was Holy.
Oh,
That
it's
one was.
Holy Grail. Okay, okay.
Yeah, no. The Life of Brian ends with him on the cross saying,
Oh, singing on the cross.
"Look, yeah, always look on the bright side of life." Like, yeah, yeah. I mean, but at the core of it, are you a good person? Are you trying to help other people? Are you trying to become a better person? Really,
Right,
that's the core of it. All the other stuff, what sandals he wore, how
right,
long his hair was, if he had a beard,
right.
that's freaking insignificant.
I could be Jesus.
Yeah, Well, the Gnostics would say that it was like, some Gnostics, not all of them, would say we're all trying to bring in that a little bit of that Christ-like
Right,
behavior into us, and yeah.
right. Well, it's funny how people are nitpicky about the movies, like with the Supergirl and all that stuff, and Superman. So you can see that these characters, which are fictional, are being more and more as we go on as a society, will be seen more like deities. All right. So in 500 years, Superman might be, hey,
Well, I think it's all predicated on U.S. power.
right,
But when U.S. power goes down, I don't think I think we'll look at it differently. I think because we're a society that didn't get like crushed like Russia or
right,
China or any of the other big powers during World War II, that we were actually very much spared. Like you think Superman, impervious, right? We got
mhm,
two seas that protect us.
right,
But if things go south,
mhm.
we might actually go back to, and this is where I think Batman survives.
Right, right. The Church of Batman, the Church of
Batman
Superman.
will survive because
Right.
he's an actual guy that works hard at his craft and skill, as
He's
opposed
a
to these
carpenter.
other characters, right? And by the way, speaking of superheroes, Homelander.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
melted down over Homelander.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, yeah, it kind of fits.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Like, it was like when he said, "I suck your dick." I think about Menace to Society. I'd suck your dick for a
But why are people
cheeseburger.
surprised? His only thing he had was his superpowers.
I know.
you know, if all of a sudden all your thing is a gun, you lose your gun, and you're fighting a guy who is
Right.
Mike Tyson,
Right. You're
hate to
done.
tell you, you're screwed.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
it's like, oh, they're so upset.
Oh yeah, they're tight. They got their
It's like,
penny twist. There's actually an AI that someone did saying the boys, the way the fans wanted it to end, and they agreed to it. I was like, no, no, we don't.
no,
Like that,
no.
I like just and it ended just fine.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think it was rather satisfying. Actually,
Yeah, I thought so.
you
What
know.
I find funny is that how Homelander represents so much of what is it, martial law, the the,
Mm,
the, the pseudo Superman character martial law, like to a T.
yeah. Well, I think he's representative of
You know?
a large portion of American personality,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think
He had
they
that Red
related
Riding
to
Hood
that.
costume, right?
Very cocky,
Yeah,
arrogant, insecure,
yeah.
mean, very mean. I mean,
Me,
he's a guy that lasered people.
I know.
Right? I'm like, come on, you're not expecting him to get it in the end. You're sad for him. It's like,
Right. Oh, they love that. Just like they love Trump, you know?
yeah, and I
Just
think
like
that's kind
they
of like a
love
Rorschach test.
just like yeah, just like they love yeah, I mean Alan Moore was shocked that people loved Rorschach and the comedian. Like he was like, no,
Yeah,
these are the bad guys.
yeah, yeah. The only thing I could understand, at least with short Rorschach, is that he was getting Osmodeus plan out to everyone.
Right.
'Cause he
Exploding.
thought that's screwed up. Like, I'm screwed up, but that's really screwed up.
You're right.
And I was like, okay, I can kind of see from that perspective, but he was an asshole.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
None of them are nice.
None of
None
them.
of them.
They're,
None of them
yeah.
particularly,
I think that's why Akira and Watchmen stand out because you read those books and you're like, no one's a good guy. Everyone's has their selfish motivation.
yeah, although Kaneda's probably the most relatable out of all of them.
Right.
Where he's somewhat likable. But yeah, the rest not so likable.
Yeah. I mean, the
Totally good.
most innocent kid is the one that blows everything up. That's Akira himself.
Yeah, because he's
he's the
that's all he knows.
purest one. He has no malice. He has no malintent. He's just like, I got these powers and I can't control them. It's like, don't make me cry.
Yeah, great series. Great series. Actually, I like that series more than I do Watchmen. I think there's something that he touched on so many more layers than Watchmen. Again, I always think that Alan Moore's better book is V for Vendetta.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he knows British society pretty good. And I'll give him that. Watchmen, I have my issues. I'm like, Russia doesn't have Dr. Moscow.
Right.
And we're not attacking Russia. Like,
right.
What are you, simple? Like,
right.
It would have been a detente, right? We would have been like, we're walking right into Moscow tomorrow. Come on, Dr. Manhattan, right?
Right. Exactly. That's true. They would have had their alternate opposite. Yep. Very true. I mean, same thing. What I always thought was funny that it hit me years later as an adult that, because in the movie he had the domino mask, but in the comic books he had that leather mask, and I was like, oh, it's S&M. But no, actually, if you really look at it, it's blackface. And who's under the blackface? It's Groucho Marx. He's Groucho Marx, fucking the comedian. It's Groucho Marx with a blackface leather mask, right?
Yeah,
Alan Moore's poking fun at America cinema and American culture.
Yeah. And he wants nothing to do with it now.
Right, yeah, of course.
And I don't really blame him at all.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he ever wrote additional stories because he was planning to retain the rights to those stories. Because he has so many stories for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, even after DC bought up that first novel from America's Best Comics. They own that first 2 volumes, but he owns everything else after once he went to the top shelf. So he still uses those characters. But you never know if you notice, Top Shelf never reprinted the first 2 volumes. If DC bought it as a fuck you to him, like we own you no matter what, So I wonder if he had stories planned for those remaining characters, continuing adventures or
I'm
something.
sure he had, but I think he's inappropriately so turned very bitter.
Of
I think
course, man. 30 years
a
in
lot of
court.
fans sort of go, "Oh, what's the big deal?" It's like
They did same thing with him with Miracle Man. It's just.
there's a lot of things. I mean, his Swamp Thing's awesome.
Oh yeah.
It's
They just started reprinting Swamp Thing, talking about comics. Rick Veitch, they just printed his story from 1989 where Swamp Thing meets Jesus, and that was banned. Like, so the original 4 issues were
It'll get
banned.
banned again.
Yeah. So you know what? We're going to talk about that next week because
Sounds good. I'm always up for Swamp Thing.
Original 88 came out, so they're calling it Swamp Thing 89. But it's actually Swamp Thing 88 through 91 issues were banned, and then they actually had them redrawn because they didn't want to touch that whole Jesus subject, So technically, I haven't even read it yet because I was like, well, I don't want to just read this issue 88 to 91. I want to actually read the whole story. So I went back to my Swamp Thing books instead of reading issue 80, and now I'm in 85. So I'm working my way towards it so I could just read it in context.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like, again, our very narrow. People complain about not having new things.
Right.
But there's so freaking out over Lapita is a perfect example of that narrow-minded view.
Yeah.
And there's so many things out there that could be written about, but because it's like, yeah, if we put it on paper, it's going to be called woke, or it's going to be called unbelievable.
Yeah, I was writing woke stuff before there was even a name for it.
Yeah, it's just called writing interesting shit, right?
Right.
It's called writing interesting shit. I'm sorry, but
Right.
like there are stories about,
Was
and this is
Martin
actually a
King
historical
woke?
fact, just to show you how absolutely crazy history is.
Right.
There was a group of Japanese people
Mm-hmm.
in I think it was the 1500s, that got trapped in Spain,
Right.
in Seville. So, and you're talking samurai.
Right.
They were trapped there because Japan got closed off to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
right?
for like
the Spanish and the Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
And they stayed there. They lived out their lives in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's so many crazy stories where, like, what do you mean samurai in Spain? Mexico City was, in terms of like global trade, was at one point bigger than New York. Wasn't even a thing yet. And you had Chinese healers, you had samurai as bodyguards. So if you put together a story about 17th century,
Right.
17th century
Yeah.
Mexico City, where you have samurai and Chinese people and Spanish dudes,
Yeah.
they think, oh, you just fucking made this up. But because we don't really read and we're not curious,
Right.
and we should be looking at those stories going, well, okay, this is what I've been taught, but is it true? Let's go dig. Let's be curious. We're not like that. No, this is what I've been taught.
Right.
Achille was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. No, he wasn't. He's brown.
Right.
There's no description to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's our problem.
We got QW
Comment.
process must ban/shoot plan departments bot. Yeah.
But
And then you got thank you for streaming. Yeah. This is my former student. Yeah. How's it going, man? Got us at the tail end. So we got a lot of stuff to cover next week because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't play any of my video shorts. We didn't do our Dan TDM segment. So
yeah, no, we got caught into this. I was so mad. Like I'm
no, it's fine.
This shit.
It's fine. It was great. I thought it was.
Like, they're mistreating this black woman, Lapita, because she's black. Like to say that, oh, she's not pretty enough to play Helen. I'm like, let me just slap you upside the head.
Right. It's like, what world? I
In
don't know.
what world do you think Lupita's ugly?
Right.
Right.
She's gorgeous.
Most white women are
Yeah.
trying to get thick lips and Brazilian butt lifts.
Well, when I was a kid and when we were both kids, they did the same thing with Grace Jones and James Bond. They were men
Oh yeah,
one
yeah,
girl.
yeah. And Helena Troy has been played by black women before. You've had Eartha Kitt in the 1950s. You've had
The stream. I'm sad. I missed your stream. Kind of much. Thanks, bro. Yeah, in a few minutes. We actually are. Yeah, in a few minutes.
wrapping up.
We're wrapping up.
And Xena was played by the Helena Troy and Xena was played by a Black American woman. Well, she was part Black American.
Right.
And then Vanessa Williams played Callisto.
Right. She was hot too, man.
But here's the key thing between the woman that played Helena Troy and Vanessa Williams. This is where another layer that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
They're both light-skinned black women.
Right.
So there's colorism involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going to say that some of the other women that played Helena Troy weren't pretty.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to say that, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people saying Grace Jones is a man. Grace Jones is a man. It's like,
well, they used to say Prince and Michael Jackson were gay.
It's like, give me a break. It's like Grace Jones is gorgeous, man. I don't understand how.
She was just tough.
Yeah, I mean, men don't. In our society, men don't appreciate strong women.
No.
And I guess Andrew Tate's of the world, and Andrew Tate has some points. I'm not going to shit can him completely, but it's just like his followers.
Which points? The pimping out girls,
like being courteous towards women, and I mean, he had a few things.
Yeah,
a few points. Very few points, but he had
very few points.
Very few points.
I personally think.
About chivalry, about being chivalry, but I mean, you have the whole, I don't know whether it's true or not, because that's still out in court, whether or not he was trafficking girls and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised.
All I can say, though, and I have a friend from Chicago who, through I guess you could say degrees, knew his dad. His dad was a chess player. He was Black American. Came from a very prominent family.
Right.
I think his grandfather was a lawyer.
Right.
I think they'd be very disappointed in him. Into what he turned into. Actually, his sister, who's very proud of being Black.
People just.
His sister is like the polar opposite of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and Tristan just looks like he's just like, yeah, I'm just going along being the squire.
Yeah. I mean, and then I feel like he lost the limelight, and then this guy from the Proud Boys, the white Mexican guy, picked up the torch and kept carrying it with this hateful bullshit. It's just like,
and you know what?
I forget the name, but yeah. But then even he's sold out because wasn't he calling Trump to release the Epstein files and all that stuff, and then
they all were
criticizing Israel, and then all of a sudden,
you got a check in the mail.
He got a check in the mail, and then he's like, is 14 really pedophilia? I forget the name of that guy.
You know what it was like? They opened up their mailbox, and this light shined, and they're like, I have seen light.
It's either he saw a bunch of money to shut him up, or they put a gun to his head and said, we're going to kill you and your whole family.
I think usually they start with the money first. I don't think they go right to the killing.
Right. What was the name of that Proud Boys guy I'm talking about? What's his name?
Yeah, I forget, but I know who he is.
I forget his name, but yeah,
he's got that
the schmuck.
He doesn't have quite he's got the G.I. Joe beard.
And I don't know if you've been following Candace Owens. Like I've been sporadically looking at her stuff. She's going deep dive on Erica Kirk.
Oh man, I
She's
wish
like,
she defended black men the way she defends that white boy, man. She
they had something. Let's be for real. They had
Oh yeah, I mean like
defended that dude like they were like lovers or
oh
something.
yeah, like I'm like just sitting there going,
She's going
holy
to
shit.
town.
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
that guy talked. That Charlie Kirk was such a shit talker. It's like, come on, man. But let's forget him. Let's move on. It's like, give me a fucking break. But that Candace Owens defends that dude like, like she's holding up a fucking torch for that dude. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just like I get it, he was your friend. I get it, you don't like her. But I think you could talk about some other things every so often.
Maybe he was really good in the sack. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, the unforgettable white boy. Like, I don't know.
Not judging.
I'm just like, what's going on with this chick? Like, she will not let that go, like she's holding on.
I don't know. But Erica, man, though, she looks like she's psychotic looking. Like if you were to watch, I watched, I can't remember which movie it was. Some freaking movie my late brother rented. It was the best line. It was some guy. He was like a brujo, right? Like just like a shaman type guy, and he would take over people's bodies. And he tells this guy, man, walking in you is like walking in an empty room. Like, fuck. And that's my best description of what it must be like to if a demon ever possessed Erica Kirk. It's just like fuck. There's not even furniture in this place.
I mean, how do you fall for somebody with that face? What the fuck? It's like, oh god. It's like,
hey, you know what? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, those eyes are dead.
Because he wasn't all that good looking either, man.
He has Jack Kirby eyes. Jack Kirby used to draw those women with those fucking like
with the McDonald's
eyebrows. Yes, with the eye. Yeah, and she has the cheekbones too. Like, look at this face. I mean, this is the one that's got people going crazy for, right? This one's like,
oh like, yeah, the rhythmless nation, as some people were saying.
Yes, rhythmless. That's the first thing that I went toward. I was like, what's going on? Like,
what's with the Janet Jackson?
And then the cameraman literally really just zoomed in on them. Like, she's just like, look at that. Like, she's not even staring at the camera. That's how what's the word?
Hinge?
She's staring at something else. She's not even looking into the camera. It's like
she's seeing Charlie's ghost.
Dude, man, that chick's fucking scary. If I had to look at that face every day.
Hey, you know what? He saw something in her. Love is blind. He looked at her and he said, "You know what? There's something about her that drew into her, and that's not, like I say, it's not for everyone, right?" And here's the other thing: when guys, and this goes out to the guys, a lot of young guys out there, or not so young guys, talking about good-looking women and who's the best looking, and this is what it should look like, and Athena should look like this, or Helen should look like this. One, many of you aren't that good looking either. Two, if you sit down and you've sat down with a bunch of friends and you start thinking of and talking who you think is good looking, very rarely is everyone going to go, "Oh yeah, her." Sometimes, but other guys, there'll always be that one guy going, she's mid, right? So this idea of throwing out beauty as though it's some great standard, you have the guys who might like women who are slim, other guys who like more of a voluptuous, like it's a mixed bag. So this idea of like, well, she's not up to my beauty standard. One, that's you. Two,
to each his own.
Yeah, to each his own. To each his own.
To each his own. But let's I think Jack Kirby saw the coming of Erica Kirk.
He was a prophet.
He was
a prophet, man. He was the prophet. deep into the future. First stare. And that moment that we saw, she was staring back at Jack in the past.
Look at
Yes,
this.
totally. Totally. Yeah, she's got the Jack Kirby face.
He's got the Jack.
You know what's really interesting though? That he drew such interesting variation of men.
Right.
But then when it came to his women,
Yeah.
the faces were always kind of
They're all Roz.
They're all like, yeah. But I'm like, dude.
His wife was like, "Why are you drawing that black chick? She better look like me." He's like, no, that's Tina Turner, honey. He's like,
yeah, you got it, man. He foresaw Erica Kirk, and that moment she was staring into the camera, right? That was the moment she was seeing Jack Kirby staring at her while he's drawing at his desk.
Right. I mean, look at this. Look, this one's funnier too. This one's more on the mark. Let's look at this. I just saw it. Fuck, where'd it go? It's like, oh god.
All it's missing is True Believer.
Yeah, my god. There's my Google search here. I'm looking.
True Believer. Jack stared into that magical comic book page that was like a crystal ball.
This one's blurry, but you can see that.
Yeah,
right?
Erica.
That's the Erica face.
That's the Erica face.
The possessed eyes. Like she's got Jack Kirby eyes.
That's crazy.
She's got the Jack Kirby.
That's crazy.
We gotta make a song like that.
Well, maybe Charlie was a big fan of Jack Kirby as a kid, and when he saw Erica, he was like, "Holy shit! It was foretold to me in a Kirby comic."
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. We're out of here. There we go.
The apocalypse is coming. Are you scared? Are you prepared? The masses are running, frantically running from their fears, running with their tears, running from their lives, running from that dark shadow.